Hello, my name is Reverend Kayla Parker. I use she or they pronouns, and it is good to be with you all this morning, even though I am here with you in a different way. I want to acknowledge that it feels odd to be delivering a sermon to you from home and knowing that you all will be receiving it from a screen, so hello from yesterday. It at first felt particularly odd because this message I bring to us today is a particularly important one, I think, especially for the time and the place that the fellowship finds itself in right now. And I prefer to feel more in relationship with you all when preaching generally. As you know, I like to have a little conversation when I preach. And especially for this message, it would have felt right to be closer to you all. And then I realized that there are actually a fair number of folks in our fellowship for whom Zoom and being online is and will continue to be the primary way they are in relationship with us on Sunday morning. So perhaps in a way it is fitting that I am with these folks who are a bit more on the margin of Sunday mornings today. And of course, as I'm still infectious with COVID, even though I feel a lot better, I do not want to get any of y'all sick. So here I am in my kitchen window room, standing as I like to stand, and as you've probably noticed, sometimes sway as well a little as I preach. I'll try not to do too much of that, but I will, of course, be talking with my hands as my Italian heritage, which is my maternal culture, so beautifully raised me to do. Without further ado, what I want to talk with you all this morning about is the concept of a third space. As places of worship across our nation are dying and shrinking, many have been looking to this concept of a third place or space to try and think about how congregations, houses of worships of all types can once again become a popular space for the public to gather. Now, for many congregations, their problem is quite simply that their theologies are no longer aligned with popular belief. This is not the problem for us Unitarian Universalists in becoming a third space or place. However, we have different problems. We'll get there soon, but first let's talk about the concept more broadly. Now, we first encounter this concept with the language of third place in modern sociology, with this man, Professor Ray Oldenburg, a white American urban sociologist who passed away last year at the age of 90. May he rest in peace. Now, Oldenburg popularized the concept of a third place with his 1989 book titled The Great Good Place, which was an editor's choice book from the New York Times that year. It was Oldenburg who said that first spaces were homes, second spaces were work or school, and third spaces were those places where you could go in public to just be, to be known, to get to know others, where you can relax and hang out. Examples include coffee shops, libraries, barber shops, hair salons, gyms, bookshops, bars, parks, stoops, and perhaps places of worship. Oldenburg highlighted the importance of these third places, which really are the cornerstones of our public lives and public life. Places where people can come together to be and be known. Now, importantly, third places are not the same as our homes. They are not a familial space, but a more public space where we can interact with people we know well and people we don't yet know at all. Now, an important question here for us at the fellowship and in all places of worship, I think, is to consider if this place feels like home, like yours, like family. If it does, it is possible that you feel so comfortable here that you're not making quite enough space for new folks who might not be as comfortable. Now, what do I mean by this? If we roll or stroll into a new space and everyone is metaphorically laying back with their socks off, feet propped up on a table, maybe even picking the lint out of their belly buttons, we would likely very quickly back away and out of the door. Because how do you start a conversation or sit down in a room full of people picking the lint out of their belly buttons? Now, this is hyperbole mildly for comedic effect, but you all are catching my drift, right? If we act like a place is ours, it is safe, and like ours, it is safe to assume that others are being told, however subtly or unintentionally, that this place is not theirs. A third place is not just our place, it is a shared place. And that is the magic, beauty, and potential of a third place in its very shared quality. Now, some of the other magic of a third place is that it is a place where all are equal. Now, one of the requirements of a third place, scholars say, is that it is accessible to everyone and is a place of leveling, where socioeconomic status has no importance. Now, we can accurately wonder how this is so when so many of our third places in our modern contexts are places where we have to pay for something, right? A haircut, a coffee, a book, access to equipment to work out on. That, however, is a sermon for a whole nother day. Today, we might wonder how this fellowship, Unitarian Universalist congregations broadly, and places of worship generally, do and don't live into this goal of leveling. Places where the statuses we have outside in the world are not of importance when we are in this third place. So, after this description of what a third place is and me naming kind of two areas where we perhaps fall short, we're going to talk about them a little more. So one is, are we really a place where status doesn't matter? And two, are we a place where everyone can share some sense of ownership and belonging? Now, miraculously, these two issues we've come across about were these two issues that we've just named as ways that we perhaps fall short of being a third place have some remedies and solutions. These solutions and the path to solving them are actually in the context of something called a third space. So, how can we truly live into being a third place? It's actually by becoming what we might call a third space. Now, third space, similar term, different context and understanding. Third space is talked about by a bunch of different academics, but we are going to talk about the context that was talked about by Professor Homi Bhabha, who was an Indian-British professor. India is in the country of India, and a scholar of post-colonial studies who was 74 years old. Now, in 1994, Bhabha wrote a book called The Location of Culture, where he talks about a concept of third space. A post-colonial scholar, Bhabha talks about how, typically in colonization, the colonizing Western culture attempted to create a homogeneous culture, theirs, in the colonized nation. We know that this has happened on every continent, including here in the United States, in the founding of this nation. What Bhabha says is that although the colonizing force always tries to create a homogeneous culture that is their own, the reality is that a variety of original cultures always continue to exist. Now, when these cultural differences and the existence of these different cultures, the very fact that there are different cultures coexisting is uttered. Uttered is the word that Bhabha writes and uses. Then a third space of culture comes into being, for it has been named, however softly, that there are in fact different cultures existing and colliding creating this liminal space of multitude, which he writes gives rise to something different, something new and unrecognizable, a new area of negotiation of meaning and representation. And so it is with us today. Today we utter that here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Winston-Salem, a variety of cultures exists. There exists here a perhaps before unnamed dominant culture of white upper middle class America. And there too exists a variety of African American cultures, African cultures, Asian American and Asian cultures, Native American and Cuban American and Latino, Latinx cultures, working class and poor white cultures, disability and neurodiverse cultures, gay and lesbian and queer cultures. So many different individuals who within ourselves might contain different cultures and together are a whole lot gloriously and miraculously. Our prayer is, may the richness of what is gathered here in fellowship become a third space where all cultures can be uttered and then named and then celebrated. Sorry, y'all. 4, when we can do this, be this third space culturally, then we will, I believe, be far along the road of becoming a third place where all are welcome and are able to be fully present. And all can be equal, just be and be here. Now, I'm going to pause to put a cough drop in my mouth. Here's the really good news. You all are already on this road. How do I know this? Because I have seen it. One beautifully present example is the, I believe, somewhat new tradition of wearing hats on the first Sunday of each month. The story has it, from Karen Armstrong, that when a group of folks, black and white, who had previously been worshiping at Unity started coming here to the fellowship, they said, The cough was not theirs, the cough was mine. But they said, some of us are used to doing things a little differently than is being done here now. And some of us like to don our Sunday best and wear hats. So folks, join us and wear hats on the first Sunday of the month, or just appreciate them. And now it seems that there is a new tradition of folks wearing hats on the first Sunday of every month. This is a whole fellowship community being invited into a practice that is an especially important, holy, and joyous practice for many generations of Black women in America, and is also a practice for many other genders and cultures. So, here is my invitation to you. Enjoy these new traditions and cultural practices as they come into existence here at this fellowship. Celebrate that this is a third space culturally, constantly emerging and evolving so that the many cultures that exist within this community have the space and place they deserve to be present and to shine. If there is space or comfort you are losing and you need to mourn and process this, certainly be honest about this and do this. If there is space or comfort you're needing and you need support and others to make and claim this, certainly be honest about this and seek this and do this. Do these to be present to and a part of all that is so gloriously emerging among us. Here is why. here is why I invite us to do this. It is not because we want more people in seats. It is because we as Unitarian Universalists believe that it is more important that we worship together than that we are worshiping the same thing. It is because we as Unitarian Universalists believe that it is how we act and what we do that is more important than what we believe. It is because we as Unitarian Universalists know that love is our center and believe that this love is trying to convert and transform us and our whole world into a place where love lives and breathes in every space and place. If we are to let this love take over and become agents of love, we must start by doing it here. This love wants us all to be present together, gloriously in our fullness and our cultures with love for ourselves and others. And we know that love makes magic happen here. So let's be okay being a bit uncomfortable and a bit brave and become a third space culturally so we can be a third place where all are truly welcome to be themselves and to be transformed by the power of love. Amen. May it be so, and may we make it so.